for a layup. So let's talk about that Michigan State game a little bit. It really came down to kind of 10 minutes versus 30 minutes, and it looked like two games in a sense uh, from a North Carolina standpoint because they did not look great for those first 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden something changed. And I'm going to ask you, Sean, from what you saw, what did you see differently after that interview that Hubert Davis did with the sideline reporter? That all of a sudden, there's a timeout, and then the game changed. What did you see schematically that North Carolina was doing differently?
Well, I think just to go to the start in terms of what Michigan State was doing, it looked like almost the Villanova game plan on offense of trying to use the size and strength and one-on-one and back down, and they were hitting pretty much everything they were throwing up. And you're saying how the heck are they hitting that, and worried it was going to last the whole game. Defensively, they were following what NC State did in the championship game, playing probably even farther off of Elliot Cadeau and packing the paint. So you kind of saw exactly what they were trying to do early on, and I think they were doing that to perfection those first 10 minutes. UNC was, I think, a little tight, rushing things a little bit, and Michigan State was playing at their peak level, and then it started to shift. But I think UNC's commitment to defense, I think Harrison Ingram, he really stepped up his game and became that difference maker. So we always ask, how are Ingram and Cormac going to play? And I think Ingram stepped up tremendously, and Ryan played a good, I'd say a decent game offensively, but you really look at him defensively, and it goes not what you're going to see on the counting stats, but in terms of how hard the whole team is. But you really look at Cormac on those guards, how he's fighting to stay in front of everybody, get through the screens. I think defensively, it was just a little bit more attention to detail in terms of playing a little more physical. And then offensively, I think it was not getting bothered as much from Michigan State perspective, running their sets, starting to hit shots, get confidence, opening it up a little bit more, and all of a sudden, the game started to expand. But I think it was, they kind of got hit in the mouth first, but they were able to get up pretty quickly and adjust both offensively and defensively.
One of the, I think, disturbing things that a lot of folks saw, and it jumped off the screen at me too, was early in that game, Michigan State was able to start wherever they wanted. North Carolina was not really contesting any entry passes, was not really stopping Michigan State from getting to their spots. Sean, I saw them after that adjustment to where it seemed like they were with Michigan State's players on the catch a little more. And I don't know if that's just extending defense out or if it's just engaging your want to, so to speak. Do you feel like that was a schematic change, or were guys just more fired up?
I don't know how much of a schematic change it was. I think it was more just UNC getting back to what they've been doing the majority of the season from a defensive perspective. I think Michigan State in general was a good shooting team from the outside, but not a high volume team. And they did love to take those tough twos. And between UNC continuing to force contested shots, I think, look, you weren't expecting Michigan State's bigs just to back down, hook shot, time and time again. So Armando, once again, I thought played extremely well defensively, where he was able to stay in front of the guards, but also provide help side to contest at the rim, but not give up lobs or easy passes, which I think is definitely something we should talk about with Alabama, because they're going to be a lot more aggressive in terms of looking for those lobs. But I think it was just continuing to force tough shots, but even a little tougher than what they were doing, because Michigan State was really the one dictating how they were taking those shots in the first 10 minutes.
Sherrell, when I watch this team, it seems as clear as crystal that the defense starts the offense. And I can't think of a game where it was more case in point of that. Maybe the Florida State game in the Smith Center when Carolina was down really big early and started using a little bit of full course man-to-man and full court trap stuff. But this one specifically, it just so much defense triggering the offense, and then they went on that 23-3 run or whatever absurd number it was. Can that be overstated? Like, is it really that simple, or do you just feel like it's just the level of engagement that maybe makes this team thrive, and then it shows up offensively?
I mean, I don't think it's overstated or understated. I always get those two confused. Like, it's just this team when they play defense, they are a defensive team. Like you asked us in January, and I said you were wrong. They are a defensive team, and when their defense is doing what it's done all season, they're really hard to stop because, Carolina didn't run really the last couple of years like they have in the past, really since 2019, and now they are running. They're getting out in the open court, and it's all cyclical. Like your defense allows you to get a stop, you get a rebound, which is just a really good rebounding team. They've only been out rebounded like one time in the last like 20 games or something. So you get the rebound, and then you're able to push up the court, which gets you into transition, which can hide some of the deficiencies that some of your players have offensively. And when you do that, you score, you get excited, you play better defense, and it just starts going downhill, and it's a snowball effect. So to me, it really is like it's. I know it's simplistic, and it seems like just it's got to be more complicated. But it's like if this team defends, there's not anyone they can't beat. I know there's only 15 other teams left, but if this team defends, they can absolutely win a national championship. It's not far fetched at all. And I think the lapses are the issue. They're just it's hard to play 40 minutes of hard nosed defense where you're running off screens and switching and running up and down the court. That's really hard to do. So if they can just minimize those lapses, I mean, I think they have a great shot.
And I think one thing we've always talked about: what is the bench going to provide? How is the bench going to play? And I think when UNC got down early, it was I've always been, hey, we got to keep Cadeau in there as much as possible for the offensive freedom and what he does. But the move to bring Trimble in and how Trimble played right off the bat, I thought helped change the course of the defensive intensity that they were bringing, as well as made Michigan State, especially Walker, think a little bit more about what he was trying to do. And Trimble getting the basket, and then Washington getting the basket, cut the lead. Now, granted, Michigan State pushed it up again, but I think it just gave UNC, hey, we're treading water right now. And then when the starters came back in, Cadeau got the 3-point play, Ingram got the three, and now things started to churn a little bit more efficiently for the starters.
I think Joey, what really, and there's not like one moment you could say the Cadeau 3-point play because they looked offensively, they looked dead in the water before he got that. But to me, it was just Armando Bacot, man. And I'm sorry if I'm stepping on your toes if you're going to segue us there, but uh, there was just the way he's transformed himself to be able to off those switches, just stay in front of guards, and then it's gotten to the point now where when he gets switched onto the guard and the guard gets past him, it's kind of like, do you really want to do that? Because he's going to block the shot most of the time. I think he might have been credited with two, but I remember the one in the first half that led to a run out on the other end. And it's just, it's a marked change from where things stood. If you remember after that Georgia Tech game, a lot of the analysis, I think, not from here, but a lot of the analysis was, well, if Armando Bacot, you put Carolina in ball screens and you put Armando Bacot against guards, he's going to get toasted in their defense. That's why it's not playing as well. Well, that's why you have to remember it's a very, very long season and there are ebbs and flows. And this last 10 games, man, defensively, I think he's just really been locked in. I said it to Sean and to Rob and to Ben in our little side chat. Like, to me, I think he's playing better than he's ever played when you can consider the totality of everything he's has to do.
The
I
whole
mean,
package.
the whole package. I mean, he was passing out of double teams. He was scoring off of double teams, scoring in single coverage. He was, playing great defense, getting blocks, getting rebounds, hit a jump shot, hitting his free throws, like doing literally everything it takes to win. So to me, that was the catalyst. I thought just the way that once UNC kind of bowed up a little bit, they had nothing for Bacot offensively or defensively inside.
When he hit that jump shot, I was just like, man, if he just
With the
did that,
baseline jumper, you talking about that?
yeah, that was just one or two times. I mean, it would just free him up so much, but he took it extremely confidently, knocked it down, and it was in rhythm. But I think that would just free him up given how much pressure teams are trying to put on him in the post. But to see him score effectively like that with the ball in his hands versus off offensive rebound or a transition, I think was, again, if he's doing that, because Michigan State, their bigs were not good, but
They're not scores. They're not offensive bigs.
but they
Yeah.
brought a lot of different,
Like 5 of them.
strength, and then
Yeah.
the other, one at length. So there's a lot of differences, and they're just coming in versus some of the other bigs that he'll see. So I thought, just to echo Sherrell's point, he played a fantastic game across all aspects, and him not picking up a second foul was huge. I think it took him away aggressively, but him picking up 2 could have completely altered, how that first half was played. So I think in years past that might have been, a guarantee that he's going to pick up 2 at some point. So, hats off to him for being smart enough to be able to know how to play through it.
I was gonna say that he bullied the bullies. Like that's the whole Michigan State mantra, right? Is they're tougher, they're stronger. Detroit strong, big 6'9" Xavier Tillman, 245-pound dudes.
Save the auto industry.
Yeah, they might not have a ton of skill, but like they'll get in a fight and they want to play in that's their whole entire identity of that program. And Armando Bacot basically bullied them inside for the entire game. So to me, that says a lot about his play right now and where UNC is.